We are live on YouTube. Haven't hit the record button yet, though. Where is my post? Need to go on YouTube. Oh. Sign out. Someone else has signed in to my YouTube account. Sign in. All right. Sign in. Okay, where am I? Here we go. My channel. Gotta send out a tweet. Episode 18.
That's right.
So ultimately, you only missed one.
That's right. We're back at them.
Episode 18 of the Hockey Nuts. Now, watch live. All right, copy that. Tweet.
I gotta turn my sound off.
Oh, that was probably my tweet, right?
Yeah. All right. I'm muted now. Okay.
And posting that on the Hockey Nuts.
Yeah, my pick of the week was Jonathan Taves donating $1 million to the Dakota Community Center.
Oh,
not sure.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
Good one, good one. All right, all the peeps have been notified. So we can go ahead and get going.
Good.
All right, I'll go ahead and get my show notes up. I'll hit the record button, and away we will go. Oh, I gotta mute my TV. All right. Where'd my show notes go? There they are. All right, you ready?
Ready to go.
All right. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Hockey Nuts podcast. We are on episode 18. My name is Wayne. I'm here with Steve. How's it going today, Steve?
Doing well, Wayne. Good to be with you.
Great to be back. We've missed a couple of weeks here Well, you've missed a couple of weeks. I've missed
Yeah.
a whole week.
Yeah.
You've had some family emergencies to deal with, and I've been battling some flus and everything else. So
It's hits hard.
yeah, so the last couple of weeks have been a little difficult in our personal lives, but we've got things settled down now, and we're ready to get back at it.
That's right.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
So yeah, it's been 12 days since we last recorded an episode, or since I last recorded an episode. I did the most recent one, episode 17, was I did solo. So
Yes.
so we had to get one out there, and I wanted to do one last week, but I was just fighting the flu all weekend long, and I just didn't. I didn't feel up to it, and my voice probably wouldn't have lasted for a whole episode. So I decided to just go ahead and take the week off. So we got a couple of weeks to catch up on.
Yes, we do. We got a lot of hockey to talk about.
We certainly do. And the first thing I want to talk about, well, actually, one of the things I'm really excited about, and I just saw it last night. I don't know if you knew, but the Stanley Cup is coming to Raleigh sometime in 2017.
I saw that in the remarks there. It came here this year. It came to Raleigh this year to celebrate the franchise's 10-year anniversary since winning the Stanley Cup.
Yes, it did. Yep. And I wasn't able to attend that whole celebration. I had to work that weekend, but yeah, but it's coming back. So,
well, that's good.
I think we need to set our calendars as soon as we find out when it's going to be here. You and I need to be there.
We should be there to see that. I've never seen the Stanley Cup, so I'd love to. If at all possible, we'll be there.
I'm envisioning a photograph with you and I standing on either side of the Stanley Cup. You in your Rangers jersey, me in my Bruins jersey.
And a big bottle of Chum Red Ale from some San Jose fan.
We need a San Jose fan to send us some. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I see that picture becoming our new podcast show, cover art for our podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
So
very good.
So we'll have to see what we can do when that time comes. They haven't released any dates yet on the bringing it here anyway. So
right.
We'll have to come up with a plan as soon as we do get dates. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right into the hockey talk because we do have a lot to talk about. And as always, we'll go ahead and take a look at how our teams have done over the past couple of weeks. Before we do that, though, I want to make a note, and we touched on a little bit in our pre-show. Since we last recorded, the standings have kind of been turned upside down a bit.
Yes, they have. and especially in the Metropolitan Division, things are going bananas. Every team seems to be on a winning streak practically.
Yeah, you got the Flyers that are winning. You got the Blue Jackets that are doing well.
Playing well.
Yep.
The Capitals won several games in a row.
Yep.
Pittsburgh's won six in a row now?
Yeah, they're red hot right now. Yeah, right now the Metropolitan Division is making the Atlantic Division look pretty bad right now. So
I tell you what, I'd put them ahead of the Central Division as we speak.
In terms of overall strength, yeah.
Yeah.
So well, good. Well, we'll go ahead and talk about the three teams that we follow. Of course, my Bruins, your Rangers, and our local Carolina Hurricanes. I'll start with the Bruins. Since we last recorded, the Bruins have gone 3-2-1. They had a 2-1 win against Buffalo back on the 3rd, a 4-3 overtime win against Florida on the 5th, a 4-3 overtime loss at Washington on the 7th, a very disappointing 4-2 loss against Colorado on the 8th, and another very disappointing loss, 4-1 against Toronto on the 10th. Mm-hmm. Those are two teams that the Bruins really need to be beating if they're going to have any chance of playing the playoffs. But after that, they came back and they beat Montreal 2-1 in overtime on the 12th. So that puts the Bruins at 16-12-2 on the season, third in the Atlantic.
I watched that game, the Montreal game, and I was very happy. That game was in Montreal.
Yep.
Very, very glad to see them win. Austin Zarnik scored the goal in the game in the regulation
Yep.
And yeah, a big win for you guys. That's a big one.
That's a huge win. But
Yep.
that watching that game just left me wondering. My biggest question is, why is it that they can go into Montreal and put up that kind of an effort, that kind of determination, that kind of just fire, but against teams like Colorado and Toronto, they go out and lay an egg. So that's kind of been plaguing Boston so far this season, and it's the one big question that kind of hangs over this team at this point.
Right.
Is that overall consistency,
Right.
The effort consistency. Anyway,
Yep, I understand what you're saying. But the NHL is a long season, and Wayne, I think if you looked at it, most teams go through those stretches.
yeah, oh yeah,
Even the best have the difficulty of the weight of the season on their shoulders some night.
Yep.
And I don't think we as fans have any idea how that is. But those guys in the locker room, I'm telling you, that's a difficult thing. When you're up against the wall, you're trying to figure out ways to win games. You can't put things together, and it happens to every team. It's a long, grinding season.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, those guys are in the best shape of the
Yeah, that's true.
the best shape in the world. You would think that they'd be able to handle it, but you're right. We don't know what's going on inside those four walls, but I don't know. Just hopefully they can put things together anyway towards the end of the season. You definitely don't want to peak right now. Bruins have had seasons in the past where they peaked in December and January, and then in April they fall flat on their face. And I'd rather have them struggle now than struggle in April and May. So
That's right.
All right. Well, let's move on to your Rangers.
The Rangers, they've had their moments. They and this is going through the week where I just wasn't able. A couple of these games I was not able to watch, as you know. But the win against Carolina was retribution somewhat. We beat them 4-2, and again that was in the Garden. So we've played all our games in the Garden against Carolina. Our next game is March 9th, and that'll be in Raleigh, and that'll be the last game we play them this year. Then we lost to the Islanders. I don't look at that too bad, although I did not watch that game. My wife did. The final was 2-1. 4-2.
Yep.
The final was 4-2. We split with them in Brooklyn, and I'm happy with that. So. You're not going to win every game. And then, of course, Alain Vigneault kind of switched up the goaltending responsibilities for the last few games.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, he put Antti Raanta in the game against Winnipeg, and I was shocked that he played him the very next night against Chicago, but we won both of those games.
Yep.
2-1, and then Raanta got the shutout against Chicago in Chicago.
And that's
1-0.
huge. That's huge. Yeah.
Then went on to play the next game and won in a shutout 5-0 against the Devils, where we could do no wrong in that game.
Yep.
And finally, last night against the Blackhawks, I watched that game. I don't know if you saw that. We lost 2-1, but Raanta was very solid in that game. He's on a roll. Antti Ranta's on a roll.
He sure
is.
He's
playing very well.
Yep.
And, I listened to Vigneault very carefully during these last few days, and his take on it was, and I did not realize this, but during the year we went to the Stanley Cup in 2014, he actually benched Henrik for 4 games during that period, and it was solely to give him a rest.
Yep.
During the month of December, he did the very same thing, and I didn't realize that. But he said, no, Henrik is our number one goaltender. That's not changed. I'm merely putting a hot goalie between the pipes right now who's winning everything in sight. I would do the same thing if I were the coach.
Hey, the NHL nowadays it's an 82 game season. Every game's important. So you've got to bank points now while you can, so that when you do hit that dry spell, whenever it may be, January, February, that you can survive it without falling too far in the standings. So
that's right. And on top of that, Raanta used to play for the Blackhawks.
Yep.
So he knows that team very well.
Oh, okay.
He knows Chicago very well. So anyways, I'll take 4-2. especially splitting with the Blackhawks. We played them very well.
Yeah,
I thought, we definitely could have won that game last night.
those were two good games too.
Yeah.
And the last one too. Jonathan Taves was back for that game, wasn't he? Because he had been hurt, so I think he missed the first game.
So. Yes,
yeah.
he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, good. Well, let's move on to our Carolina Hurricanes. They also had a 3-2-1 stretch while we have been on hiatus, including a 4-2 loss at the Rangers. We talked about that one on the 3rd. They got a 1-0 win against Tampa Bay, which was really nice. That was a home game. A 6-5 shootout loss on their California road trip against Anaheim. That was on the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 8th, the next night, they made the long trip across town to play the Kings, and they beat the Kings 3-1 in that game. And then they went up the highway a little bit and played San Jose 2 nights later on the 10th, and they lost that one 4-3. And then they came back home last night, and I don't know if you saw this game, but what a wild game it was. It was ultimately an 8-6 win against Vancouver.
I did not watch that
last
game
night. But they had they were down 5-2 going into the 3rd period. And they came back and scored 6 goals in a row and won the game 8-6.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
God.
Yep. Actually, it wasn't 6 in a row. They scored 6 in the 3rd and ultimately won the game. But anybody who left that game after the 2nd period is probably kicking themselves today because they won an offensive ridiculous outburst in the 3rd period in that game last night. So,
man, that's something.
And
that is something.
And they had Michael Leighton in net for that game, so that explains the 6 goals against.
Very good.
Because their backup is Eddie Lack. He's been hurt, so that's why they have Leighton in town playing for them. So, but. Now, the Hurricanes are now 12-11-6 on the season, but they're 7th in the Metro. They're buried deep in the Metro right now. And they're 11th in the East, and they're currently 8 points out of a playoff spot. And they'd only be 4 points out of a playoff spot if they were in the Atlantic Division, but they're not. They're in that tough Metro division, so they've got a hill to climb still.
That's right. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, other notable games that have happened over the past 2 weeks, I've got a list of games here that have happened, and they're mostly among teams that are having great seasons thus far. Strong teams playing strong teams, so to speak. So on the 3rd, there were a bunch of games where some really strong teams played each other. The Oilers beat the Ducks 3-2 in overtime. The Flyers beat the Blackhawks 3-1. The Devils beat Nashville 5-4 in overtime. The Lightning beat the Capitals 2-1 in a shootout. And then on the 4th, the Wild beat the Oilers 2-1. The Canadiens beat the Kings 5-4. On the 5th, there was just a single game of interest in my mind anyway. The Penguins beat the Senators 8-5.
Yeah.
And then on the 6th, the Blues beat the Canadiens 3-2. A win against the Canadiens is always a good win. The Senators beat the Sharks 4-2 on the 7th. On the 8th, the Flyers beat the Oilers 6-5. I wish I'd have seen that game. That would look like it would have been a good one to watch.
I did watch that game.
Oh, you did?
Wait a minute. That was on, yes. I watched that game, and it was a tremendous game.
Must have been up and down, huh?
In Edmonton, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was, I believe.
And the Flyers, the Flyers are playing. They're the hottest team in the NHL, and they're playing very, very well right now. So that was a game the Oilers could have easily won, and they let them back in. The Flyers got back in that game and won it.
Yep. So, yeah, that was a good one. And then, of course, the Rangers beating the Blackhawks 1-0 in overtime. The Blues beat the Devils 4-1 on the 9th. The Ducks beat the Sharks 3-2, also on the 9th. The Kings beat the Senators 4-1 on the 10th. The Ducks beat the Senators 5-1 on the 11th. So the Senators went out west and had a rough go of it. Getting smoked 2 nights in a row. Looks like the Senators are coming back down to earth. The Wild beat the Blues 3-1, and the Blue Jackets beat the Oilers 3-1. And those games were just earlier this week. So those were the notable games anyway over the past couple of weeks. All right, well, let's move on to some transactions. There were a few over the past couple of weeks. First and foremost, the Arizona Coyotes claimed forward Josh Joris off waivers this past Sunday. Joris was placed on waivers by the New York Rangers on Saturday. He had 1 goal and 1 assist in 12 games this season with the Rangers.
Mm-hmm. He saw limited time. He didn't. I watched him play, but he wasn't on the ice very often.
Kind of a fourth liner, isn't he?
Kind of a fourth liner. If Vino needed him, and I'm not sure the precise reason why this happened, but this kind of thing goes on a lot with.
Oh yeah.
The guys are on the fourth line and they're struggling to stay on the team, especially a team like the Rangers this year playing very, very well. That kind of thing.
He should see a lot more ice in Arizona.
Absolutely. And, there's a close relationship, I think between the Rangers and the Coyotes. That goes back for a long time.
They seem to do a lot of deals.
They do a lot of deals together. They work together on a lot of things.
Bruins seem to do that a lot with the Oilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that doesn't surprise me, and I hope it goes well for him.
Yep.
Hope it goes well for him in Arizona.
All right. The Arizona Coyotes, speaking of, made another transaction. They acquired center Peter Holland in a trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs on Friday for a conditional draft pick in the 2018 NHL Draft. Holland, who's 25, had 1 assist in 8 games with the Maple Leafs this season. He was selected by the Anaheim Ducks with the 15th overall pick in the 2009 NHL Draft. He has 70 points in 203 career NHL games in parts of 6 seasons with the Ducks and Maple Leafs. Kind of small numbers for a 15th overall pick.
Yeah, that's true, Wayne. I didn't think about that till you just said that right now.
Yeah.
The Coyotes get sometimes they get these guys that I guess they pick up and there's not a lot of news about, and they sneak in and
well, I think
they make a difference.
I think the biggest reason for these two is Max Domi getting hurt, and I think that'll be later when we get touch on injuries. We'll mention that Max Domi did get hurt, so they've had to make some moves to shore up their offense a little bit.
Yes.
So. All right, and then we had a signing this past week. Forward Cal Clutterbuck agreed to terms on a 5-year contract with the New York Islanders on Friday. No financial terms were disclosed, but TSN is reporting that it is worth $17.5 million, an average annual value of $3.5 million. Clutterbuck, who's 29, could have become an unrestricted free agent on July 1st of 2017. He has 9 points in 25 games and is 5th in the NHL with 89 hits. He was named as an alternate captain at the start of the season, his 4th with the Islanders, and 9th in the NHL. So this is obviously a sandpaper kind of guy.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it. Him and Casey Cizikas, they got a few of those guys.
Yeah, and every team needs a grit guy, so they locked him up to make sure he doesn't go anywhere.
The Islanders are not playing well this year, and I am not surprised by that, and I'm sure you're not either.
And there's been a lot of talk about the coach of the Islanders and the GM of the Islanders on whether or not they're on a hot seat with upper management because Garth Snow continues to stand by his coach. Yeah, Jack Capuano, and he's standing behind him, and he keeps saying publicly that he thinks Capuano's doing a good job, and but it seems like the fans are getting a little antsy in New York about getting rid of Capuano or making a change to see if they can jumpstart this team.
It's a tough place too, New York City. I don't think that the Islanders have the same pressure that the Rangers do in terms of the media scrutiny.
No, the expectation is a little bit lower for the Islanders.
Yeah, but it's there, and you know, I don't know. You and I both know the offseason deals that the Islanders made really hurt them. And so to come back and to make the playoffs this year is going to be a very difficult task to do. And we were saying that at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
I think we may have got that one right.
Yep. And yeah, like we said earlier, I think a lot of the moves they made, they got their hands tied with salary cap issues and had to make some changes to weaken the team,
Yeah.
to stay under the cap. All right. Well, let's move on to injuries. And there's actually, for not being there 2 weeks, we didn't have a whole lot. I think teams are starting to settle into their routine, and not as many guys are getting hurt. But we'll go ahead and talk about a few anyway that came across my news feed.
Yes, sir.
Philadelphia Flyers defenseman Mark Streit has an upper body injury and is expected to be out 2 weeks. Streit played 19:04 in a 1-0 overtime win against the Red Wings on Sunday, but sat out the final 2:26 of the third period and did not play in overtime. In 31 games this year, Streit, who's 39, has 5 goals and 11 assists, and is fourth on the Flyers with an average ice time of 19:52 per game. So, Streit was always a top 2 defenseman on most of the teams that he's played in the past. Mm-hmm. Obviously, being 39, he's getting up there. His role is not as big as it was before, but still a big loss for the Flyers.
Especially in defense, in the defensive core.
Yeah.
They have some good players, but that's a guy that knows how to win and has been around the NHL a long time.
Yep. So, but he's only going to be out a couple of weeks, so it shouldn't be too bad. All right, Edmonton Oilers defenseman Darnell Nurse is expected to be out up to 12 weeks after having surgery to repair ligament and bone damage to his ankle. Nurse, who's 21, has 3 goals and 2 assists in 25 games. He last played December 1 against Winnipeg Jets and was placed on injured reserve December 3rd because of a lower body injury. The Edmonton Oilers are talking that this is a huge, huge loss for them. Obviously, he doesn't put a whole lot of points up on the board, but he's definitely probably their top kind of stay-at-home guy.
Mm-hmm.
Shutdown defenseman that they've got.
Right.
He's a first-round draft pick, so there's a lot expected of him. He is only 21, but to be out 12 weeks,
yeah.
The Oilers had a similar issue with Connor McDavid last year, where he missed a couple of months of the season, and again this year, the Oilers are going to be out one of their key players.
And defense-wise, Edmonton that's their weakness.
Yep.
And when they lose a player like Darnell Nurse, it really is a gaping hole, as other teams can exploit them, readily.
Yep.
They cannot afford to lose defensemen like this.
Yep.
So.
Well, they have no choice. 12 weeks is a long time, though, man, to be out of a guy. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Arizona Coyotes forward Max Domi was placed on injured reserve on Saturday with an upper body injury and is considered week to week. He was injured Thursday in a 2-1 overtime loss to the Calgary Flames. Domi has 16 points in 26 games so far this season. The Coyotes recalled forward Laurent Dauphin and defenseman Anthony DeAngelo from Tucson of the American Hockey League on Saturday, and they will be in the lineup Saturday against the Nashville Predators. Obviously, this was from earlier in the week, and Max Domi is one of their best young forwards that they've got.
Yeah.
So to lose him is going to hurt for them. Should only be a couple of weeks, though, from what I'm reading. All right, and this one may be old, but I'm going to mention it because he's a New York Ranger. New York Rangers forward Rick Nash will be out 1 week with a groin injury that forced him to leave in a 4-2 loss to the New York Islanders back on Tuesday. Nash had an MRI exam on Wednesday, so I don't know if was this a recent injury?
It happened in the Islanders game, which we lost 4-2.
Okay.
He was hurt. Jimmy Vesey was hurt in that game. And Jimmy's come back, but
is Nash still out now?
I was surprised, but I was surprised he didn't play last night. He did not play, but there now the real key is, did he make the road trip to Dallas? I don't have information on that, but if he did, I would expect that Rick Nash will play tomorrow night against the Stars.
Yeah, at this point, he's day to day.
He could be back, should be back in the next game or two.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, groin injuries are just one of those things where you just got to wait it out.
Right.
It's going to heal itself on its own for a minor groin injury like that anyway.
That's right.
All right. Montreal Canadiens centers Alex Galchenyuk and David Desharnais each will be out 6 to 8 weeks with a knee injury. Galchenyuk was injured during a 5-4 win at the Los Angeles Kings on Sunday when he collided with Kings center Anze Kopitar in the offensive zone past the midway point of the second period. Galchenyuk appeared to be favoring his right leg after it was clipped by Kopitar's leg. Galchenyuk leads the Canadiens with 23 points in 25 games so far this season. His position on the top line center between Max Pacioretty and Alexander Radulov was filled the next game by Desharnais, who did not make it through that 3-2 overtime loss at St. Louis on Tuesday, leaving the game in the third period. Desharnais has 3 goals and 9 points in 25 games, so 2 key losses for Montreal.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm heartbroken over it. No, you never want to see guys get hurt, obviously, but
right.
I'm kidding. But it might help other teams in the Atlantic get caught up with the Canadiens at this point.
That's right. That's right.
So, all right. Boston Bruins forward Matt Bolesky will miss 6 weeks because of a right knee injury. Bolesky injured his knee in the first period of a 2-1 win against the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday. The 28-year-old has 2 goals and 3 assists in 24 games for the Bruins this season. Mixed feelings among the Bruins fans over this injury. Bolesky really hasn't played that well so far this season. Certainly not to the contract he signed with them anyway. There's a lot of Bruins fans that are not too disappointed that he'll be out for a little while to give some of these young kids a chance to play. But
who would they bring up on him, or did they bring someone up?
I don't think they brought anybody up. I think it's just they're able to move guys like Austin Czarnik up.
Yeah.
Up into those, because Bolesky was playing more of a third, fourth line role at this point, because he's only got 5 points in 24 games, so he's been playing more of that third line, fourth line. He's been bouncing back and forth between those two lines, so they're able to give Czarnik some more time. They're able to give Spooner some more time. They're just giving more time to the younger guys.
I see.
So they didn't really call anybody up to replace them. Okay. Center Nolan Patrick of Brandon of the Western Hockey League, projected to be the first player picked at the 2017 NHL Draft, will not play for Team Canada at the 2017 IIHF World Junior Championships. They're actually starting here pretty soon. Hockey Canada announced this past Monday. Patrick, who's 18, has not played since October 11th because of an upper body injury, and he was not medically cleared to attend Canada's World Junior Selection Camp, which will be held, it's be going on right now, the 11th through the 14th in Blainville, Quebec. So Canada decided to go ahead and move ahead without this young phenom.
Yeah, it must be a pretty serious injury. That's when I read this. That's what I was thinking, because the World Junior Championships aren't until the end of this month, and here we are talking about an injury he had back in October.
Yeah,
so
he's been out for a while.
Yeah, it's a shame we won't get to see him play.
Yep.
But anyways,
so. And I have read another article that Canada is looking to move to have more. They're calling it an older team.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to say an older team when you're talking about 18 to 20-year-olds, but Canada's bringing a more experienced team to the tournament in hopes that they can win the thing. They take that tournament pretty seriously. So,
Yeah.
all right, Philadelphia Flyers forward Matt Reed will miss 4 weeks with an upper body injury. Reed, who has 6 goals and 4 assists in 27 games, left the Flyers 4-2 win against the Nashville Predators on Sunday, just a minute 57 into the game. So that's another loss for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah. Yeah, the Flyers had a couple big ones there.
Yep, but they continue to play well.
Oh, they're playing very well.
Vancouver Canucks forward Derek Dorsett needs cervical fusion surgery and is out indefinitely. Dorsett is expected to resume his NHL career, but there's no time frame for his recovery, the Canucks said Monday. Dorsett, who's 29 years old, has 1 goal and 4 points in 14 games. He'd missed the past 7. So read between the lines on that one. He probably won't see him again this season.
Yeah, I agree. That sounds like pretty serious surgery.
Yep.
And again, what do I know?
I'm sure very painful. All right. Enough about injuries. Let's move on to suspensions and fines. We actually had a couple this week.
Yes.
And I went and reviewed on both of these. There's 2 of them. I went and reviewed the videos on both of them, and I'll give you my my personal thoughts on those anyway. Dallas Stars defenseman Jamie Oleksiak has been suspended for 2 games without pay for an illegal check to the head of Philadelphia Flyers forward Chris Vandevelde during an NHL game number 411 in Philadelphia on Saturday, December 10th. The incident occurred at 7:30 of the 3rd period. I saw I saw the play, and to me it looked like a clean hit. I don't know if you saw it.
I did not see that. I'm gonna rely on what you say, Wayne. I can't speak about this one.
Yeah. Basically, it was a hit that occurred. He was just trying to knock him off the puck, and it looked like he was just trying to line him up to hit him shoulder to shoulder, but he ultimately got head contact first, and that's why they went ahead and fined him. But that was the verdict on that one. I felt it was a clean hit, but it's hard because they're really trying to crack down on these hits to the head. He didn't look like he was targeting the guy's head. He looked like he was trying to hit him, but unfortunately, the way the hit was timed and just the positioning of the Flyers player, he just made head contact. And I get it. They're trying to cut back on those, but I don't know. I didn't feel that one warranted a suspension. But the other one, on the other hand, Ottawa Senators defenseman Mark Borowiecki, has been suspended for 2 games without pay for boarding Los Angeles Kings forward Tyler Toffoli during NHL game number 412 in Los Angeles, also on Saturday, December 10th. The incident occurred at 2:38 of the first period. Borowiecki was assessed a major penalty for boarding. This one absolutely deserved to be suspended. The hit was avoidable. The player made, or the Senators made a case or tried to make a case that the player turned into the hit, turned his back on the defenseman, but he was turning to try to protect the puck from Borowiecki from coming in. But when he turned, it was like he had time to ease up, and instead he just
plowed right through
him into the numbers, straight into the boards, and it just completely flattened him. So absolutely, that should have been a penalty. Absolutely deserved a major, and absolutely deserved a suspension on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's
Very
move
good.
on to milestones, records, honors, and in this we have a death to report. So let's go ahead and start with, most of these are in chronological order, of course. Philadelphia Flyers right-winged Jakub Voracek, New York Rangers goaltender Antti Ranta, and Columbus Blue Jackets center Sam Gagner were named the NHL's 3 stars for the week ending December 11th. Voracek led the NHL with 6 assists and 9 points in 4 games to help the Flyers complete a perfect week and extend their overall winning streak to 9 games, their longest run since April 2 through 22, 1995. Wow. Ranta went 3-0-0 with a 0.33 goals against average and a .984 save percentage. My God.
Yeah,
and 2 shutouts in 3 games to lead the Rangers to 6 out of a possible 8 standing points. Whew.
He's been playing out of his mind. His positioning has been just tremendous, and I've been very impressed with him. I don't second guess Vigneault at all. I really don't.
Hey, you got to stick with your hot guy. I mean, you got a guy putting up those kind of numbers. You leave him in the net.
Shutouts. Why bench him?
Yeah.
Vigneault's a very smart guy. So
you leave him in the net, absolutely. And then the other guy, Sam Gagner, collected 6 points in 3 games to help the Blue Jackets pick up 3 wins and extend their overall point streak to 8 games, so including 6 straight victories. So another team that's playing very well.
Yes, they are.
All right, and a milestone. Chris Neal played his 1,000th NHL career game, becoming the 307th player to reach that milestone and 46th player in league history to compete that feat with just one team. The 37-year-old fan favorite, who Ottawa, well, it depends on whose fan you ask.
Yeah, don't ask me that question.
Yeah.
Not a favorite of mine.
Who Ottawa selected in the 6th round at the 98 NHL draft, has more penalty minutes than any other NHL active player. So that pretty much sums up the kind of player he is.
That's right.
And like you said, he may be a fan favorite in Ottawa, but any other team, not so much. He's had run-ins with Bruins. He's had run-ins with
Rangers.
Penguins, you name it.
Run-ins with every team in the NHL.
Yep. And the fact that he's still playing is remarkable. that nobody has shortened
knocked his
career.
block off.
Yep.
Sometimes I really have thought Chris Neal's, missing a couple screws upstairs.
Well, yeah.
I mean, some of them fights, he just, I don't know. He's an aggressive, tough player, but he's also, I don't know, just.
I've loved it when he's tried to pick fights with Zdeno Chara. Like that's just a exercise in stupidity right there.
That's like kind of trying to pick a fight with Milan Lucic,
Right.
You better be able to back it up, you
right.
know?
Right, exactly.
So,
all right, the Dallas Stars put Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, and Jason Spezza together on a line and cashed in during a 5-2 win. I don't know why is that in there? I don't know. We'll skip that one. I don't even know why that story's in there. I don't know where the milestone is on that one. Okay, Philadelphia Flyers goaltender Steve Mason, St. Louis Blues right wing Vladimir Tarasenko, and San Jose Sharks goaltender Martin Jones have been named the NHL's 3 stars for the week ending December 4th. Mason led the NHL with 4 wins in 4 games, compiling a 1.71 goals against average and .945 save percentage to propel the Flyers into the first wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. Tarasenko shared the league lead with 4 goals in 3 outings, and also paced the NHL with 2 game-winning tallies as the Blues earned a 5 of a possible 6 standings points to maintain second place in the Central Division. Jones went 3-0-0 with a 1.01 goals against average and .962 save percentage, yielding only 1 goal in each of his 3 appearances to guide the Sharks into first place in the Pacific Division. So that's obviously the 3 stars from 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
So some players that had some big weeks that we wanted to touch on there. And finally, in this category, Bill Dineen, a two-time Stanley Cup winner with the Detroit Red Wings, who later coached the Philadelphia Flyers and had three sons play in the NHL, died Saturday in Lake George, New York. He was 84. His son, Kevin Dineen, played. I don't know if he ever played for the Hurricanes, but he definitely played for the Whalers for a lot of years.
Yeah. I remember the name Kevin Dineen.
Yeah. So his son, he was actually, they made a lot of news when Kevin played for the Flyers, and Bill Dineen was the head coach at the time. So a passing of a longtime NHL veteran, both as a coach and a player. All right, let's move on to some other stories. The NHL today announced the details surrounding, and actually they announced it yesterday, the details surrounding the special events that will launch its centennial festivities honoring a century's worth of extraordinary players, teams, remarkable plays, and unforgettable moments. The NHL Centennial Celebration will commence officially on January 1 in Toronto with the Scotiabank NHL Centennial Classic outdoor game featuring the Detroit Red Wings and Toronto Maple Leafs at Exhibition Stadium.
That is where they play, the Toronto Blue Jays play, so.
Or where they used to play.
Okay, that's the old park.
Yeah, the old ballpark, yeah.
Yeah.
This marquee event will also feature the first phase in the announcement of the 100 greatest NHL players of all time, as well as the launch of the NHL Centennial Fan Arena, a traveling fan experience that will visit all NHL markets across North America in 2017. And that Centennial Fan Arena, that is where we're going to get our opportunity to get our picture with the Stanley Cup.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
That will be good then. I look forward to that.
I have my picture with the Stanley Cup already. When they came, remember when the NHL All-Star Game back in 2011 was here?
Yep.
I got my picture with the Stanley Cup during that weekend. I've got me and the kids with our, I think we had our Maine jerseys on, though. University of Maine jerseys. So
okay.
This time I'll have to get one with Bruins jersey.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit of a change there, but, you know, I'll wear my Rangers jersey just the same, Wayne. We'll both go see that together. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it should be. So, and all right. So moving on, there was some NHL GM meetings or Board of Governors meetings over the past couple of weeks. And some of these stories, the next several stories, came out of those meetings. First one, the World Cup of Hockey 2016 met expectations and should be a fixture on the league's international calendar, according to one of the presentations made Friday at the NHL Board of Governors meeting. The final take is, I think everybody in the room believes, as do we, that we were able to reestablish this event in a very big, major way, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said at the conclusion of 2 days of meetings. It was very successful. There were a variety of things that we were focused on to do even better the next time we do it, whenever that might be. I think people were pleased with it, understanding that it's a very small part of our business, but we think it's important when we can focus on events like that. Commissioner Bettman said it was too early to discuss potential changes to the format of the tournament, which was played in Toronto in September for the first time in 12 years. So they're saying publicly that they were happy with that event. So
it was definitely, you'd have to say it was successful, Wayne, wouldn't you?
Well, every game was sold out, I believe. Well, at least every game that interested locals, anyway.
For Canada and the United States got quite a bit of fan billing there too. But
yeah,
Team North America, you know, they.
I think everybody was a little disappointed that Team Europe ended up in the final, but.
Yeah.
Except for the people that, you know, I mean, there's just no real country there, so.
Right.
But obviously Canada's happy because, you know, they won the thing, so.
Right.
Maybe that's why they're calling it successful, because they won the thing.
Right. That's right.
All right. In a related international note, the NHL did not conduct a vote or reach a decision on player participation in the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics during the Board of Governors meeting as well. Commissioner Gary Bettman did say that the governors have expressed concerns about NHL players participating in the Olympics for a sixth straight time. He said, quote, if there's something at some point to take to the board, it will need an affirmative vote of the Board of Governors, Commissioner Bettman said on Thursday. I think it's fair to say that there is some strong negative sentiment in the room, but nothing was decided today. So, looks like, to me, anyway, if you see the writing on the wall, that they don't want the players going to the Olympics this next time.
And I've had that feeling ever since this started, when they dragged their feet on trying to get it over, and then it's always been reported that the Olympics are not going to foot the bill for the insurance,
right?
All that stuff, and but I get the feeling that we're gonna be looking at the Olympics in 2018, and there's not going to be NHL players there. That's the feeling I get.
But there will be some there because
Russia is going to have their players there, right?
Well, some of them. I know Ovechkin has said publicly that doesn't matter what the NHL players and the NHL owners decide, he's going.
Right.
And at least publicly, the owner of the Capitals has expressed his support for Ovechkin and will allow him to go. So you're going to see individual players that really want to go to this thing go. And it looks like a lot of your Russian players are going to follow with what Ovechkin's doing and go anyway.
Right.
So
I think, that over the years, the Olympics is very important to the country of Russia. And
it's huge to them. Yeah.
It's very important. They spend a lot of money and time promoting their athletes and building up their athletic power that they have in each Olympics, but especially the Winter Olympics.
Yep.
They seem to really want to show the world that they're the top country in that 2-week setting. And it doesn't surprise me that these guys from Russia would want to go. I wouldn't be surprised if they load their team up and it's like the old Red Army team.
Yep.
They just come out there and win they're going to win the Olympics if they send those guys. And the United States and teams like us, Canada, don't send anybody.
Yeah, well, we'll send guys. It'll just be junior players, college players,
right?
Like it was in years past. And actually, I wouldn't mind seeing that. It'd give us a fresh look at some new faces that and they're all going to be up and comers. They're going to be 19, 20, 21-year-olds that have yet to crack the NHL lineups of their teams. Mm-hmm. You'll probably see some guys that are drafted, maybe even signed with NHL teams, but not playing on the NHL roster. They may be still in junior.
Yeah,
you'll see those kind of guys there, and that'll be fun to watch too. So I'll watch either way. It doesn't matter.
That's right, Wayne. We're gonna watch no matter what.
Yep.
I don't care if they put high school players on for the United States. We're gonna watch the Olympics. That will not be it's a must-see event.
Yep. All right. So again, with more Board of Governors stuff. We talked a little salary cap. The NHL Board of Governors on Thursday was given a projection on what the salary cap could be for the 2017-18 season, but Commissioner Gary Bettman declined to give out details during his press conference following the meeting. The salary cap for this season is $73 million, up from $71.4 million last season. So, and the press weren't able to get too much information from Bettman. He wouldn't commit either way, whether it be going up, down, staying the same, or whatnot.
Right. It's going to go up.
Yeah. It might go up to an even 75 or whatever. Yeah. So, but imagine if it went up to like 80. You're going to see some teams spend some money.
Suddenly I'm going to be pissed Keith Yandel's gone. The Rangers could have forked over some money and got him. We're missing Keith Yandel. I want to keep that.
Yeah.
So, but,
True.
Anyways. Yeah.
All right. And on a Las Vegas story, as we mentioned in the past podcast, the Las Vegas NHL franchise announced their name as the Golden Knights. Well, since we last recorded, the United States Government Trademark Office came out and said that they are not approving the team's use of that name and trademark for a variety of reasons. They didn't get into it, but and then later in the week, the NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daley released the following statement regarding the office actions issued by United States Patent and Trademark Office on the applications to register the name Las Vegas Golden Knights. We're currently reviewing the Trademark Office's letter and will prepare a detailed response demonstrating why we continue strongly to believe the Vegas Golden Knights mark should be registered in coexistence with the college registration, just as a number of other nicknames currently coexist in professional and college sports, particularly where there's no overlap as a sport with the nicknames being used. That response is not due until June 7th of 2017. So here's what's happening. The Vegas Golden Knights came out and, announced their team. Trademark Office said not so fast. That team's being taken by some
Clarkson, right?
No, it's not Clarkson. It's some tiny little college somewhere. I can't even remember where it is. College I've never heard of. Was using Golden Knights as their trademark or their name. And the Trademark Office says, no, you can't use it. But what makes no sense to me is, wait a minute. We've got, you've got teams all over the place that are using the same name. I mean, the Bruins, for example.
Right.
You got the UCLA Bruins.
Right.
So
Texas Rangers.
You got the Texas Rangers against the New York Rangers, right? You've got the LA Kings.
The Hurricanes.
The LA Kings, the Miami Hurricanes. Yep. The LA Kings with the Sacramento Kings, the NBA. I mean, you've seen this overlap. All of a sudden, it's a problem.
Yeah. I don't understand it either. There was some point that was made why they did not name themselves the Las Vegas Golden Knights, only the Vegas Golden Knights. And I'm not sure, again, why they did that, but there's a specific reason I heard they did that.
Oh, really? I thought it was just for, to make it easier to say.
Yeah, there's something behind that, Wayne. I'm not sure what it is. Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's weird. Something we'll have to follow.
Yeah.
And the last story I've got, in terms of stories anyway, is of this date in history. Now, of course, as you and I peruse all of the headlines that occur when preparing for the podcast, we see this date in histories. And I saw one that kind of caught my attention that I wanted to touch on a little bit. The date was December 3rd, 1987. That was the night the Boston Bruins retired number 7. Gave it to, it was, at the time, Ray Bourque was using that number. Right. He was wearing number 7. And then, of course, Phil Esposito wore it in the 70s. And they're retiring it, putting it in the rafters under Phil Esposito's name. I very vividly remember watching that game at home. It's one of the few games I remember watching. Because that night, completely unexpectedly, nobody knew this was happening. Ray Bourque came out, and I don't know if you saw the highlights of it or at all.
I have not.
What he did is he came out in his number 7 as usual, during warm-ups. And when they went to the ceremony, they did all these things, and finally they get to Ray Bourque because, everybody was wondering, well, what are we going to do with Ray Bourque? They had decided that Ray Bourque was going to be continued to allow to wear number 7 until he's done, even though it was retired for Phil Esposito. So Ray Bourque decided to take it upon himself to change his number. And the way he did it, when they panned the crowd, you saw like grown men crying. It was amazing to watch. What he did is he came out, and the announcer, the PA guy, comes out and says, "And Ray Bourque has something he'd like to say. So he came to the mic, talked a little bit, and shortly after he's talking, I can't remember exactly what he said, but all of a sudden you see Ray Bork go to take his jersey off. So he takes his jersey off, and underneath his number 7 jersey is another Bruins jersey with number 77.
Oh,
And it was that moment that he changed his number to number 77, and he wore that the rest of his career. But as he gave the number 7 to Phil Esposito, he said to him privately, he says, this number's yours. It's always been yours. And here you go. And then the announcer said, from here on out, Ray Bork will be not wearing number 77 for the Bruins. So
that's really something.
So an amazing, amazing moment.
Yeah.
In Bruins history. So, and I still very vividly remember watching that. I was at home watching that game. I was all of maybe 12, 13 years old.
Wow.
When that happened. So anyway.
We talked about this. We should do on the next or one of these upcoming podcasts the top 5 defensemen of all time. And you'd have to put Ray Bork way up there. Bobby Orr's probably number 1.
Yep. Yep. It would be interesting to see, but yeah, an interesting debate. So yeah, I remember that night for sure. All right, well, let's move on to the HockeyNuts.com power rankings for this week. And because we haven't done one in a couple of weeks, the numbers have changed quite dramatically. And of course, as usual, if you want to see all 31 teams, you can go to our show notes and you can see the listing of where your team stands. But just to be quick, we'll go ahead and just highlight the top 10. And this week it's my turn, so I'll go ahead and read the top 10 of what I have. And at number 10, I've got Anaheim. Number 9, I've got San Jose. Number 8, I've got Minnesota. Number 7, Washington. Number 6, I've got Philadelphia all the way up from wherever they were before. Number 5, I've got the Rangers dropping down a little bit. Number 4, Pittsburgh. Number 3, Chicago, and I've moved Columbus all the way up to number 2. And Montreal retains the number 1 spot this week.
Yeah. Pretty good top 10, Wayne.
Yep. And the reason I put Columbus all the way up to number 2 is when I looked at the standings, I believe they only have 5 regulation losses on the year.
That's true.
They've been playing that well.
They're playing very, very well.
They have fewer losses than any other team in the league right now. So they're playing well. They're scoring goals. They're just
their puck is going in the back of the net for them right now.
Yeah. So they're doing very well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the week ahead for everybody, and we'll go ahead and start with the Bruins. They've got Pittsburgh. They're actually playing right now as we speak, as we record on this podcast. They're playing Pittsburgh. And then they've got Anaheim at home on the 15th. They've got LA at home. And then they've got the Islanders at home on the 20th. So not an easy schedule for them for sure.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Especially the game tonight is a big one. But you couple that with the 2 teams from California coming to town, and I just see the West now as really struggling for wins. The whole conference.
Oh, they're beating each other up.
Yeah. So you're going to be playing 2 teams that are desperate for wins, desperate for points, and that's always tough.
Yep. All right. Well, who do the Rangers have this week?
We play Dallas tomorrow night. We're on a road trip for 2 games. Playing Dallas tomorrow night, and then on Saturday night we play the Predators in Nashville. Then come back home and play another Sunday game. This past Sunday we played the Devils. Now we're playing them again in the Garden on Sunday, which will be the last time we play them there this year.
Oh wow!
We play the Devils 2 more times. But both games are going to be held at the Rock.
Yep.
And then we play Pittsburgh next Tuesday night in a very important game against the Penguins. I believe that game's televised nationally. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it
I
is.
believe that's the Wednesday night rivalry. Yeah, that'll be a good one.
That'll be a very good one.
Rangers
Yeah,
Pittsburgh. Yeah,
that will be an excellent game.
you'll see Sidney Crosby crying all over the ice as usual.
Crosby always causes problems with us, man. I don't even. But I think again,
He's putting on a He's putting on a crying show tonight against Boston too. I don't even have the sound on, and I can see that he's crying all over the place tonight. So.
Oh, that's good. Oh, but we're playing them next Wednesday, or next Tuesday. That'll be the same thing. So, we'll see what happens. But it's going to be, again, this is another one of those weeks where if we can go 2-2, I'm happy when I'm sitting here next week talking to you.
Yep.
If we can win 2 of those games, that's good. I'll take that and run with it.
Yep. At some point here, Dallas is going to start playing well. So. They're too good to stay where they are in the standings.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, Carolina has kind of a quiet week this week in terms of number of games anyway. They've got Washington at home on the 16th. That's a couple of nights from tonight. They've got Buffalo at home on the 17th. And then they've got Detroit at home on the 19th. So they're enjoying a bit of a time off the road, so to speak.
Yeah.
So they should, I mean, if that team is playing as well as they have been, they should be able to get 2 out of 3 on that one. I don't know about beating Washington, but wins against Buffalo and Detroit are definitely realistic expectations at this point. All right, well, some of the big games that are going on around the league, other than the teams or the games involving our teams, I've got on my radar anyway. I've got Sharks at Senators on the 14th. That's tonight going on. If I wasn't watching the Bruins, I'd be watching that one. The Sharks, Canadiens on the 16th. Kings, Penguins on the 16th. Canadiens, Capitals on the 17th. That'll be a good game.
Yes, it will.
See Radulov against Ovechkin. Two countrymen facing off against each other.
And boy, is Radulov ever playing well for them.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, you hit that nail on the head at the beginning of the season. He's having a great year.
Yep, he is. Blackhawks, Blues on the 17th. Sharks, Blackhawks on the 18th. Ducks, Canadiens on the 20th. Kings, Blue Jackets on the 20th. Senators, Blackhawks on the 20th. And Capitals, Flyers on the 21st. So those are all real good games coming up over the next week. All right, unless you have anything else NHL-wise, we should move on to some college hockey.
It sounds good to me.
All right. And just a note on college hockey, all the colleges here in the U.S., or at least most of them anyway, are heading towards finals and ending their first semesters, going into the Christmas break, and so on and so on. Well, the hockey schedule kind of gets quiet as well. Most schools allow their athletes to focus on school at this time of year. So all around the country is a very, very light college hockey schedule, probably for the next 2 to 3 weeks anyway, until we get past the new year and things get ramping up for real around the college hockey world. But talk about Maine for a little bit. Over the past couple of weeks, they kind of an up and down again couple of weeks. They got swept by UNH, and that was a home-and-home series, which was very disappointing because UNH is not that good, but Maine somehow found a way to lose too against them. And that's their primary rival too, so that hurts even more. It hurts almost as much as the Bruins losing to the Canadiens.
Yeah, I hear you.
But this past weekend, they swept American International in a 2-game series at home. And American International, that's a team that is just not. They're kind of at the bottom of the standings. So those were 2 games that they should have won, and they did. So they're now 7-9-3 on the season, and they're sitting at about the 40th spot in the pairwise rankings. So they got a lot of work to do if they want to make a run for the NCAA championship this year. Not that they will anybody's expecting them to win the championship, but at least get in the tournament. They still got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Some of the upsets that have happened over the past week or so around the college hockey world. Number 7, Quinnipiac lost to Princeton 5-3. And then they lost to them again 4-1 the next night. Number 5, BU lost to number 12, Vermont 4-2. We had a number 1 versus number 2 game again this week. Denver beat Minnesota Duluth 4-3. Denver's the number 2 seed in that game. Number 16, Minnesota State lost to unranked Ferris State 3-0. And then number 4, BC lost to number 14, Notre Dame 3-2. And then number 18, Western Michigan beat number 8, North Dakota 3-1. So those were pretty much all the upsets on a very light schedule over the past week. And over the next week, there's really only a couple of series that I've pegged to be games against ranked teams. Number 15, Bemidji State, and number 1, University of Minnesota Duluth are playing a home-and-home series this weekend. So if you're out west and like your Western college hockey, that's a good one for the Western area. In the East, we've got number 13 Union going to Vermont, who's the number 11 team in the country. So some good games this week. Everybody else is basically well, they're not off, but they're not playing. There's no ranked teams playing each other.
Right.
Other than those 2 matchups. All right, so let's finish up our college hockey talk with a little bit of top 10 in the U.S. College Hockey Online poll. I've got Minnesota at number 10. Number 9 is Ohio State. Number 8, North Dakota. Number 7, Mass Lowell. Number 6, Boston University. Number 5, Boston College. Number 4, Harvard. Number 3, Penn State. Number 2, Denver. Number 1, Minnesota Duluth. Not a lot of change over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. That's one thing that's kind of remained kind of consistent. Those looking at those poll numbers and the numbers of the teams previous weeks, they're pretty similar.
Yep. So,
Harvard.
What's that?
Harvard moved up a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they were 6 last week, and they were, I think, lower than that before. So yeah, those Ivy League schools get started later than everybody else. So it's hard to find the right spot for them in the rankings until they get some games under their belt.
Right.
They've only played 12 games so far this year.
That's right.
Yeah.
They played 11 games.
11 games. Yep. So pretty light schedule when everybody else has played 20 already.
Right.
Or almost 20. All right. Normally at this time in the podcast, we have our KHL Minute, but because of everything we've got going on, trying to get caught up in the last 2 weeks of the NHL, we decided to go ahead and skip the KHL Minute for this week. Not a whole lot going on over there in the K anyway. I took a quick glance, and they're just, they're trying to get through their schedule like the NHL is, so there's not a lot going on other than just teams playing games against each other.
Right.
They're approaching their All-Star weekend, which comes up right after the New Year. So there'll be some stories for sure coming out of the KHL then. All right. And that puts us into our picks of the week. And I'll go ahead and let you have yours.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Sounds good. My pick of the week has to do with Jonathan Taves, who I thought this was a really good thing that he did. Very cool. He donated $1 million to a hockey rink up in Manitoba. And I'll just read the article real briefly. Over the last few years, Blackhawks captain Jonathan Taves has said he'd like to devote more of his resources to charities and causes and organizations that mean a lot to him. Taves made a big announcement last Wednesday, which would have been the 7th, in the form of a $1 million donation to the Dakota Community Center. And this is the center up in northern Manitoba where Jonathan Taves honed his skills when he was younger.
Wow.
The Center's hockey rink was renamed in Taves' honor after the Hawks won the Stanley Cup in 2010. Taves said, "From my earliest days playing hockey, Dakota Community Center has always played a pivotal role in my upbringing and my career," Taves said in a statement. According to the press release, the donation is the largest ever private donation to a community center in the Canadian province of Manitoba. And I can tell you, when you get up to places like that, because my parents, we have relatives in Winnipeg, there's not a lot of money up in those areas, and not a lot of people as well. But hockey's still big. It's very big in those rural areas of Canada, where in the plains,
yep,
where people, it's basically they're in farming.
Yep.
And they pack these places out. It is unbelievable the support that a lot of these places have. So when a guy like Jonathan Taves gives a community center like that $1 million, it's unheard of. They'll never get that money from another source. It's just not going to happen. And I just think that's a tremendous thing, because not only does that, and he said it in his statement, not only does that community center provide him an outlet where he can go play hockey, it helps him in his upbringing, and those areas, those rural areas in Canada, that's very important. So I want my hats off to him, and I thought that was a great thing that he did.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, and places like that in these small towns, the town I grew up in, we didn't have a community center per se, but we had a community rink. It was an outdoor rink, and all the kids, essentially in the wintertime, hung out at that rink. And
right.
It keeps the kids active, keeps the kids out of trouble, gives them something to do.
Right.
You need places like that, and I think it's fantastic that he was able to donate a lot of money. That's a lot of money to a small community center like that. So kudos to him on that one.
Yeah.
All right, my pick of the week is a bit of a fan story, and it's out of Anaheim. And I'll go ahead and read my article briefly. Whether you're chasing the puck or just trying to get into a game, perseverance pays off. And for Anaheim Ducks fan Nick Pacias, his perseverance paid off quite literally. In a story told to the Ducks website, it was a tough day for Pacias, his girlfriend Elizabeth, and their 2 young daughters. They tried to make a day of a 2-hour trip from their home to the Honda Center by visiting downtown Disney hours before the puck dropped on Friday. Then, car trouble, of course. They called several repair shops until they found one to take the car. But even after they found one, the car was still unusable. They got to a nearby hotel and still planned on going to the game until they realized the tickets were left in the car's back seat at the repair shop.
Oh, my God.
So with 10 minutes left until the Honda Center box office closed, Pacias went on an all-out half-mile sprint from the hotel to the stadium. He made it. He got his tickets reprinted, and his family still got to go to the game. But that's not what saved the day. Pacias, as is his custom, bought some 50-50 raffle tickets at the game. In a 50-50, the winner gets half the pot and the other half goes to charity, in this case, the Anaheim Ducks Foundation. His ticket was the winner, and he walked out with a little over $11,000.
Isn't that something?
I feel blessed by the Ducks, honestly, Pacias said. It's always a long drive, but I love being there. It's my favorite sporting event to go to, and it's just a great place to be. And this was truly a blessing, especially around the holidays.
That is really something.
So he's able to use the money to fix his car and probably get his kids some nice Christmas presents for this year. Great story.
That is a great story, Wayne.
Yep.
Thank you.
So.
Wow.
All right. So that is everything I have for the week. Did you have any other stories that you wanted to talk about?
No, we touched on them, and of course, with the way things have gone for us the last 2 weeks, it's good to work with you and get through this. And we look forward to next week being more in the swing of things.
Yeah, over the past week or two, neither one of us have watched a whole lot of hockey because, you had stuff to deal with, and I was basically trying to get as much sleep as I possibly could to just get better.
I understand. I understand that completely.
To not be sick, essentially.
That's right.
But yeah, we're both getting back into the swing of things, and we're getting going. One other note I wanted to touch on too before we close the show, and it came across today. Alan Thicke passed away today. He's a Canadian actor, most known for what's the show he was on back in the 80s? Was it Full House? No,
Oh, okay.
not Full House. I don't remember the show, the actual name of the show, but we watched it every week. On our, we only had 2 channels at home, so we had no choice but to watch, network broadcast shows, sitcoms, whatnot. But I remember him. Anyway, he was a huge hockey fan, longtime LA Kings fan, good friend of Wayne Gretzky. He passed away at the age of 69 earlier today. He actually passed away right after playing hockey with one of his sons. Wow. So apparently they were playing hockey and he suffered a heart attack and died. So at least he died having fun.
Yeah.
With one of his kids. So
that's right.
So, but
Very
yeah,
good.
But I always remember seeing him playing in charity games too. Whenever they had those charity games featuring celebrities and former players and that kind of stuff. He always participated in that kind of stuff too.
Very good.
So sad to see him go, but great hockey fan he was.
Yes.
All right. So before we close the show, and I didn't do it but at the top of the show, any way you want to contact us to give us feedback on the show, we've got several ways you can do that. You can reach us at our website. That's at thehockeynuts.com. You can email the show at feedback@thehockeynuts.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 919-960-1718. You can tweet me. I'm at Wayne Halley 9. You can tweet Steve. He's sball504man. And we have a Facebook page at facebook.com/thehockeynuts. And then, of course, we broadcast or stream the recording of our show each week on YouTube, and a link for the YouTube channel is in the show notes if you want to ever watch us live. And if you follow me on Twitter, I usually tweet out when we were about to go live anyway, so you would be able to receive that notification as well to be reminded. So, and with that in mind, our next week's scheduled stream, at least this point, is the 21st. We're going to say 6 p.m. right now, but that could change. If I end up having to work a little later, we may start at either 7 or 8, but we'll go ahead and tentatively schedule it for 6 p.m. on Wednesday the 21st as our next scheduled recording of the Hockey Nuts podcast, and that will be our Christmas podcast. Oh, and speaking of, you know the Bruins are coming to town on the 23rd, right?
That's right. That's right. I saw that jersey. Yeah.
If you're watching on the stream, or if you want to catch it after the fact, go to the YouTube channel. My mom sent me a sweater that I'm going to be wearing to the game, and I gotta turn it on here. And I apologize if you're just listening, you don't get to see this, but you can go on YouTube and catch it after the fact. But let me pull up my camera here real quick so I can get it on. There we go. Okay. All right, here we go. And there it is. It's one of those ugly sweaters. It's one of those ugly sweaters that you can get, and it's got lights and everything. And I will be wearing that to the game in Carolina, wearing my black and gold, because the Bruins come on the 23rd of December. So I will be there, being proud.
I agree. And what a great Christmas present for you, Wayne. If they win that game, man, I hope they win the game for you.
I don't know if they win that game, I may have to wear that sweater every time.
I'm glad. I would wear it if I had a Rangers blue and red, white and blue. I would be wearing something like that. Lights, no lights, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a great gift from your mom.
Yep. So, yeah, anyway. So, all right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and end it for this week, and then we will pick it up next week with all the latest headlines, latest highlights, and so on. So, well, good.
Good working with you, Wayne.
All
Look forward
right.
to seeing you next week.
Yep. We'll see you next week. All right. Have a good one.
Take care.
All right.
I thought it went very well.
Yep. Pretty good for having
Doesn't
2 weeks
miss it.
off.
Doesn't miss any beats on that. That worked out well.
Yep.
So,
Well, the video's not going to turn out too good, though, after the fact. I just noticed that my my opening screen was stuck on the whole time.
oh no.
Didn't have us on camera. It'll have the audio.
Yeah.
It'll have the audio, but it won't have the video. I didn't turn the cameras on the YouTube until I held up the sweater. So,
Oh yeah.
but oh well.
Well, tonight is one of those nights where I got to part early. I gotta get with my wife and talk to her about a couple things.
Sure.
But I
No
will
problem.
be well versed for next week's podcast, up to date, completely on things. A lot of games to watch this week and a lot of news to keep abreast of.
Yep.
So next one is going to be a very good podcast.
Yeah, and I want to watch the rest of the Bruins game. It's 2-1 Boston. All right, they scored.
Beat the snot out of them, Wayne.
Yeah, it was 1-1 last time I looked up. They must have just scored.
Yeah.
Game's almost halfway over. So,
Yeah.
well, good. All right.
Well, I wish you the best tonight.
I'll let you go, and we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll see you at the store.
Yeah, you take care. I'll be there on Monday. I'll see you Monday.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good week now.
All right, you too.
Okay. Yep.
All right,
Bye
bye.
bye.
All right. Oh, damn. Oh, crap. Sorry about the lack of video, YouTube. I gotta stop making these kind of rookie mistakes. All right. Well, nothing else to see here other than turning on the Bruins game. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. See you next week.